The Women's Euros just finished last Sunday, and we got to witness England get their revenge for the 2023 World Cup finals by defeating Spain on penalties. This made them back-to-back Euro Cup winners. And after this month-long tournament, UEFA released their official team of the tournament. And unsurprisingly, it's mostly made up of Spanish and English players. But there was a ton of players who stood out this tournament who, let's be real, aren't realistically going to end up on any official team of the tournament. So this video is for those players, the less popular names, the players whose team got eliminated too early, or there were other top players on their teams that got more media attention. This is my team of the tournament, the Overlooked Players edition. Now, before I get into it, 3 things about my team. Number 1, no players from the finalists, so no one from England or Spain. Number 2, no players already listed on UEFA's team of the tournament. And number 3, no favorites or obvious popular names. Okay, now that I got that out of the way, here's my team, starting with the goalkeeper position. Well, as I said, no English or Spanish players or anyone on UEFA's team of the tournament, so I can't go with Hannah Hampton or Kata Call. And I want to avoid obvious popular names, so I'm not naming Anne-Katrin Berger, who I think everyone agrees was one of the best keepers, if not the best keeper of the tournament. No, I have decided to go with Switzerland's Livia Peng. The 23-year-old keeper playing for the host nation was outstanding. Despite this being her first major tournament with the senior team, she looked extremely confident in goal. She was comfortable with her distribution, even when under pressure from oncoming players, calmly passing it to her defenders to start the attack. She was very good at coming off her line and claiming balls sent into the box. And although she's not the tallest keeper, I think she's about 5'8", she was good at making herself big and coming up with some huge saves, including a really good stop she had on a Claudia Pina free kick. So for my overlooked team of the tournament, I went with Livia Peng in net. Next, the first defender I went with is Carlotta Wamser. The 21-year-old German had big shoes to fill with Germany's captain and star right back Julia Gwynn injuring her knee in the opening game of the tournament. Wamser is a player who went from likely not getting many minutes in this tournament to suddenly having to play this major role. Now, Wamser is very interesting to me because I only knew her as more of an attacking player for Frankfurt, but Wikipedia calls her a right back, EA Sports calls her a striker, FBref calls her a midfielder, and the Bayer Leverkusen press release of her signing called her a winger. So, needless to say, I don't actually believe Carlotta Wamser is a natural right back, which makes her performance at the Euros all the more impressive. Yes, I'm totally ignoring her red card versus Sweden because apart from that little hiccup, she was great. It was clear why Christian Vuk called on her. She was a dynamic fullback with pace, a willingness to push the attack and go forward, but also had good positioning on the pitch, rarely allowing herself to get caught out or beat by opponents. She did not look uncomfortable at all in the right back role. So for me, Wamser deserves a spot on my overlooked team of the tournament. My next defender is Swedish center back Natalie Bjorn. Now, there was no way my team of the tournament wasn't going to include a defender from the team that only conceded 1 goal throughout the entire group stages. Bjorn came into the Euros having played a key role in leading Chelsea to an undefeated season domestically. And you can see she looked confident and assured leading Sweden's backline. Sweden had to start the tournament without Magdalena Eriksson and actually went through 3 different center back pairings to start the tournament, with Bjorn and Sembrant in Game 1, Bjorn and Amanda Ilstedt in Game 2, and finally Bjorn and Eriksson in Game 3. As you can see, despite all that change, Sweden still had the best defense of the group stage, and a lot of thanks can go to the one constant player across all 3 games, and that was Natalie Bjorn. Now, for my last defender, yes, I'm only going with a back 3, and yes, I know Wamser would never play in a back 3, but I prioritize naming players that I really enjoyed watching, and not just players to fit a specific formation on the pitch. Anyways, my last defender was Italian center back Cecilia Salvi. Interestingly, Salvai's center back partner, Elena Linari, was actually named to UEFA's official team of the tournament. And honestly, I think both players were worthy of receiving praise. But for Salvai, the stats are also on her side. She led the tournament in ball clearances and was also top 10 in balls recovered and interceptions. Italy's defensive structure was on full display versus Norway in the quarters, and they made things extremely difficult for England in the semis. Really, they were quite unlucky not to advance to the finals. So there it is, my last defender for the overlooked team of the tournament, Cecilia Salvai. Moving on to the midfielders, on the right wing, I had to go with Switzerland's Geraldine Reuteler. I absolutely loved watching her play in this tournament. She had 1 goal and 1 assist, which doesn't quite say enough about how much she controlled what Switzerland wanted to do on the pitch, and along with Valti, played a key role in the midfield. And if there's any clear evidence of just how good Reuteler was in this tournament, she won player of the match in all 3 of Switzerland's group stage games, something no other player in the tournament accomplished. After the tournament, it was rumored that PSG and Lyon are interested in the Frankfurt midfielder, and so it's clear her good play is being rewarded, which I'm so happy to see. The next midfielder on my team is Filippa Angeldal. Similar to Reuteler, Angeldal was an engine in Sweden's midfield, influencing a lot of Sweden's positive play when they were on the attack. She was very direct, leading her team in progressive passes, and in fact was the only player in the top 10 in progressive passing in the Euros that wasn't an English or Spanish player. She's also a dangerous set piece taker, one of the best in the tournament. Although Sweden's time at the Euros ended disappointingly in the quarterfinals, Angeldal was one player I really enjoyed watching throughout. My next midfielder is Germany's Sjoeke Nüsken. Nüsken really stepped up in this tournament, taking on a leadership role after captain Julia Gwynn got hurt and Sio was promoted to vice captain. She was defensively aggressive in the midfield, leading the tournament in tackles and finishing third in interceptions. Nüsken also scored 2 crucial equalizers in the tournament. First, converting a penalty versus Denmark in the second half when they were losing 1-0. Germany went on to win 2-1. Seal then, of course, scored that massive header versus France in the quarterfinals after they went down 1 player due to a red card. Unfortunately, due to yellow card accumulation, she wasn't able to play in the semifinals versus Spain, which was no doubt a massive miss for Germany. Nonetheless, I named Sio to my overlooked team of the tournament. I've next got Italy's Ariana Caruso. Very much a vibes pick for me. She was just fun to watch in Italy's midfield. Creative, confident on the dribble, especially when driving into the box, but was also composed and took her chances when they came, as we saw in that opener versus Belgium, where she scored the game's only goal of the match to get Italy their 3 points. She was highly involved in Italy's attack, both with possession of the ball, when playing in transition, and she had the most shot attempts for Italy. So Ariana Caruso is who I went with. Now, she doesn't play on the left, but as I said, I just prioritized players I liked and less so on formation or what side of the pitch they typically play on. The last midfielder I'm going with is one who is quite versatile and can actually play as a midfielder, winger, or striker. But for the purposes of my team, I'm putting her in the attacking midfielder position, and that is 20-year-old Norwegian Sina Gabse. Coming into the Euros, there was some excitement surrounding Gabset, having scored 8 goals and 4 assists in just 11 games so far domestically with SK Brand this season. And we were able to see her shine in this tournament, particularly in Norway's second match versus Iceland, where Sina scored 2 goals and had 2 assists. When on the pitch, Gabset was pacey, direct, and showed strength on the ball. Despite not playing in Norway's first match versus Switzerland, she actually went on to lead the team in shots, shot and goal creating actions, and progressive carries. For this 20-year-old, Gabset was no doubt one of the few bright spots in an otherwise disappointing campaign for Norway again. And it's only a matter of time before we see some top clubs call on her. Finally, we're at the forwards, and I've gone with 2 up top, even though both of these players typically play as lone strikers. The first one is Sweden's Stina Blackstenius. Despite not always getting a lot of attention or praise, Stina has shown time and time again that she can step up and score big goals on the big stage. And that was no different with this summer's Euros, as she scored a goal versus Poland, she scored versus Germany, and she scored versus England, which put her tied for the second most goals in the tournament with 3. And she could have scored more than that even, as she had a great start versus England in the quarterfinals, including a really nice shot that was parried away by Hannah Hampton. Now, obviously, Sweden's time at the Euros came to a crushing end, losing to England in the quarterfinals. But Stina was a positive for me. Every good team needs a striker that can score, and that's what she did in this tournament. And you know who else scored goals in these Euros? The last player I'm naming to my overlooked team of the tournament, and that is Italy's Cristiana Girelli. At 35 years old, and most likely her last Euro Cup, Girelli netted 3 goals. A beautiful outside of the box curler that went top bins versus Portugal, and then 2 massive goals in the quarterfinals to upset Norway 2-1. Unfortunately, Girelli's Euro Cup campaign would come to a sad end in the semifinals. After being subbed off in the 63rd minute due to injury with Italy up 1-0 versus England, Girelli would have to hopelessly watch England tie the game in the 96th minute of stoppage time and then eventually win in extra time. No doubt a devastating loss for Girelli, but at 35 years old, it was really impressive to see her step up and score big goals for Italy, helping them to the semifinals for the first time since the 1997 Euro Cup tournament. Well, there you have it, my team of the tournament, the Overlooked Players edition. They may not have made UEFA's official list or other people's team of the tournament, but I think they all played a massive role for their countries. They showed that just because your team doesn't get to the finals or even the knockout stages, it doesn't mean your performances had no impact. So I wanted to give these players some attention. What was your team of the tournament? Is it similar to UEFA's official team? And what do you think about my alternative team? Any players you would have gone with instead? Let me know in the comments. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please like the video and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one.